Hello, wonderful humans of the interwebs. Welcome to eSpot Live. I am Ellie. This is Rodney. Rodney is my emotional support duck, aka my co-host, and we love him. Welcome. We had a fun conversation in the chat leading up to this. I had to kind of switch my adjustments around a little bit last second for some reason. One of the sound adjustments had reset and I didn't realize it, and so that intro music was a little bit all over the place. Hopefully not too bad. I know it started off quite loud, but I did adjust it. And that, you know, is a great transition into our disclaimers of the day. I start each of these with disclaimers. It's a Monday. Happy Monday. Disclaimer number 1. Yeah, and just the sound is a little bit... I'm seeing even my mic looks like it might be peaking. So I'm gonna turn that down a little bit too. Try not to blast out your eardrums. Yeah. I'm gonna just go ahead and turn that into an official disclaimer. My sound settings are off. And they weren't when I tested this, like, less than a half hour ago. So, let me know how things are going. If I'm too loud, then I will turn down my mic and or, you know, talk quieter. And if not, I'm not loud enough because I'm assuming something with the peaking, but it's not peaking on y'all's end, let me know and I'll turn it back up. Yay! Disclaimer number 2 is internet related as per usual. My settings say that my internet's working like it should be. Yay! Unfortunately, last time I kind of ran into it and it was as smooth as it looks like it's supposed to be. I was getting notifications through the actual streaming software letting you know that things were still dropping. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on with the interwebs. But again, let me know on y'all's end if it starts sticking or if I freeze or something's missing, and I will address that. I think, honestly, that might be it for disclaimers for today. My sound settings reset. I'm working on it. And my internet is just my internet. And it's Monday. So my brain is just in Monday mode. But I'm super excited to be here. It really is a happy Monday. And, I'm stalling a little bit because I feel like I'm missing something, but there's nothing in my notes. And I do leave myself notes as well. Let's just jump in. Let's do it. Why not? The first topic I have to chat about today is actually, I feel like it's a really, really big topic, and I did my best to research it and understand, and I kind of pride myself in my ability to research and understand kind of more complex topics. Specifically kind of in the legal sphere or sometimes in the business sphere, because I do have some knowledge on those topics. And I'm always proud of myself when I can utilize my personal knowledge and research and resources in order to kind of give you guys a fully formed thoughts, opinions, and I feel like a solid description of what's going on in layman's terms. Pride myself on this. This is neuroscience, so I got nothing. I mean, not nothing. I did research. I have information given to me and all that, but I just feel like there's so much in this particular topic that I didn't know nothing about. And so I'm having a hard time coming up with, like, an opinion to blabber about. So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna jump in and start, you know, talking about the information that I do have, but I'm really, really curious to hear what y'all's opinions are on all aspects of this. That was a very impressive 2-minute beat around the bush. The topic is Neuralink. So if you're not familiar with it, Neuralink is a kind of secretive and a little bit a neuroscience startup that was co-founded by Elon Musk. And they're kind of known for, like, releasing some information and then just going almost off the grid news-wise. And, then kind of dropping something else. And so, the most recent just random information dump that they gave us is that they've been working on a, yes, G-Man, Neuralink. They've been working on implanted microchip in the brain, which isn't technically the new info. The new info is that they've officially gotten a monkey to play Pong just thinking at a computer screen and slurping on a banana smoothie, which I gotta say, as much as I don't know how I feel about animal testing, that sounds like a pretty decent life, and that I wouldn't mind doing that myself, just drinking smoothies and playing video games with my brain. So many thoughts there. Life goals, right, Panda? Yeah, no, seriously, it's like, wow, that's interesting. I did actually watch the video, and it's quite interesting. Essentially what they did is they implanted this Neuralink, this microchip. It's got a bunch of different electrodes that goes throughout the brain. So there's different ways to implant it. As you may or may not know, the brain is in two hemispheres. They tend to control... They work very much together, but they also control different things or focus on different things. And so, yeah, this monkey has the implants on either side, with the electrodes kind of going through. And they started off with like a joystick to play simple games on a screen. And obviously continually rewarded the monkey with smoothie, banana smoothie. And at first I was like, how is this working? Are they just like, you know, sticking it like there and it can only, like, it only gets fed if it like accomplishes this task? I was kind of worried about that. That's not how they had it set up. They literally just have the straw with the smoothie in it set up. The monkey's just playing this game, slurping on the straw. And yeah, then they eventually took away the joystick that the monkey was using to play the games. And essentially the idea is the electrodes are reading the portions of the brain that are lighting up with the intention to complete a movement. So the monkey was trained to essentially, you know, lift the joystick up, down, side to side, etc. to move around on the screen. And even without the joystick there, the brain was using the same patterns to accomplish the task. And so ultimately, even without the joystick, the monkey was able to play these games, one of which, the monkey's favorite, seems to be Pong, which is quite quite fun, I guess. So this was released this past week in a YouTube video with the monkey playing this game. The video stars Pager, who is a 9-year-old macaque, I think it is, monkey, who had the Neuralink implanted in either side of his brain roughly 6 weeks prior to the video being recorded, according to narration. And yeah, he apparently absolutely loves the game Pong. Again, the research was first conducted with him using a joystick, and then that shifted over to just kind of thinking about it while happily slurping away on a smoothie. So this actually monitors more than 2,000 electrodes implanted in the region of Pager's motor cortex that controls hand and arm movement. So like I said, it's very specifically measuring. I just noticed that I went way out of focus there. And I'm back. Does that happen often, guys? I just happened to see out of the corner of my eye that my video went way blurry. This is not related to the topic at all. Sorry about that. Let me know if that's like a thing that happens that I need to kind of try to refix, because I think I addressed that early on. Anyways, focusing on the actual topic, but do let me know in the chat, whatever direction the chat is. There we go. Panda says that's the first time I've seen it randomly do that for that long. Okay. Well, good that it's not a regular thing. Sorry about that. I'm glad I caught it. I don't know how I fixed it, aside from just moving back and forth, but we'll work on it. Cool. Anyway, so like I said, these electrodes are specifically monitoring a region of the brain that deals with motor function, hand and arm movements on a specific, the monkey was using its right hand, etc. So this is really, really in-depth and complicated neuroscience. This is not the first time that this has been attempted. It's not even the first time that it succeeded. But there are differences in the Neuralink device that make it, first of all, safer for animals and humans when it gets to that point, in that there's no external components, rather. So a lot of times things like this will have wires kind of coming out of the skull, or have something having to come out to attach to a separate external pack, or something of that nature. That's an infection risk that that carries risk of damage. It makes it kind of complicated, and also makes it so test subjects, like I said, whether they're animal or human, kind of can't move around in a natural way, which can cause distress. That's not the case with this particular item. It is from what I could tell, from what I researched, it's a fully implanted item, which again, better for health, better for movement, better for negating any sort of external stressor, etc. So that's been really, really interesting. And the really, really cool thing is the plan, I think. The future plans for this particular implant. Things like this are really intimidating for me because, like I said, first of all, I have trouble fully understanding it, and I like to fully understand things, but it's fascinating. I don't have a neuroscience degree. I never will have a neuroscience degree, mostly because ain't nobody got funds for that. I would get all of the degrees if it was just free. Anyways, the initial plans for this device would be to enable someone who is paralyzed, for example, to be able to use a smartphone or a computer or something of that nature with their mind, even faster than somebody could move around with their thumbs or their hands. Later versions are the hopeful plan is that they'll be able to shunt signals from neurolinks in the brain into neurolinks in the body, specifically in motor/sensory neuron clusters, which could possibly enable and theoretically enable paraplegics to walk again. And that is so cool. It's scary. It's complicated. It's sci-fi seeming. But theoretically, if they can pull this off, that's incredible. And it makes a bizarre amount of sense for my limited understanding. So, and then of course, because it's Elon Musk, it's also going to prepare us to better communicate with our AI overlords. You know, it's kind of scary that the person developing this stuff is just functioning under the assumption that one day we will be ruled by computers. That does not give me comfort. The fact that this is the person putting a computer in my brain, theoretically. Anyways, before this ever hits, markets, I got caught by the chat really quick. G-Man says there's also some concerning possibilities with VR. That's interesting. I didn't think of that. But because, now I'm going through all the possibilities. Yeah, you could, possibly shift somebody's perspective of reality, which frankly happens too often anyways. But again, it's one of those things that, the implications are incredible. It's really, really cool, but also the amount of trust that has to go into something like this, because it's a breakthrough device. It is, the possibilities are endless and amazing. But it's can you imagine somebody hacking into something like this and taking over? Talk about sci-fi. If you have a Neuralink set up with someone who, again, is using this Neuralink to control body parts, because the that natural connection throughout the body has been severed, right? Because that's essentially what happens with paralysis, specifically paralysis connected to spinal cord injuries, is that the electric impulses traveling from the brain hit a cutoff point and cannot travel to the extremities. You fix this by putting a Neuralink in the brain, Neuralink in the extremities. It communicates via Bluetooth, right? And suddenly that sever is bypassed. Only problem with that is what happens if somebody else takes over the Bluetooth, right? What happens if that gets hacked into? What happens if there's feedback loop and, somebody over here is using the same device and it somehow kind of crosses over with somebody over here. I just feel like so many things can go wrong, but so many things can also go right. Technology in general is something that I think I've talked about a bit before. It's fascinating. It's exciting. But, man, I don't know if I trust humans. Like, I love the technology. I just don't know if I trust the people. I don't know what that says about me. Jiva says, also, if I understand the goals, the information transfer is ultimately meant to be two-way. I'm not entirely sure, but I imagine it would have to be for something, like I said, where it's a dual implant in a neural cluster in a body part versus the brain, to get that kind of movement. I imagine it would have to be two-way communication between the two devices. Then again, I know a little bit about technology. I've been learning a lot over the past year. A little bit about computers, a little bit about coding, kind of just the basic fundamentals of a bunch of different topics so I can better understand certain things. But this is so far beyond the fundamentals that I don't know. I'm fascinated. I'm terrified. This is great. This is scary. But all in all, we'll see. So Elon Musk is saying that he's hoping for human trials by the end of the year. Whether or not that's going to happen is very much dependent on paperwork and legal delays and everything else. It's very, very difficult to get something approved through the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for human trials, though a lot of that difficulty comes down to money. And I'm imagining that that is not an issue that Elon Musk is particularly concerned about. So it'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, the government's kind of got a history of being glacial when it comes to, again, pushing through this kind of innovation. So it could be years, it could even be decades before we see this, set out for regular use. However, I'm very, very interested to see kind of what human trials come up with when that's able to be used. But yeah, this is... There's so much here. Like I said, I really did want to do even more research, but kind of eventually I'm like, I know all I can for now without, diving into, pulling out my 7th grade notes from when I had a unit on neurology. Or whatever else. But yeah, there's so many thoughts here. Like I said, I think testing on animals is obviously a very controversial topic. I think there's a lot of things to consider with how the animals are treated. There's so much there. There's so much there. And I feel like if I continue on with this, I'll go down a hole that I just don't have the expertise to be able to dig my way out of. So, yeah, it's just fascinating. As G-Man says, again, what if it's hacked, otherwise manipulated? Imagine being able to pull information straight from Google to your brain. I think that is, I think, Elon Musk's kind of ultimate goal, because like I said, he's got that background, publicly acknowledged assumption that we will eventually be ruled by AI, and so I think that ability to kind of enhance our thinking, understanding, and access to information is definitely a goal of his. That one I think is much further down the line, because it gets far more complicated to try to create neural pathways than to just interpret electrical impulses moving through already established neural pathways. But again, I'm curious. I'm going to be watching this. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this for sure. If they do get to human testing, that's something that we'll definitely share with you guys, because this is fascinating. And I also love just that the first thing that they're doing with this, the foundation for testing it, is just playing video games. But yeah, that's all I really got on that. Like I said, I feel like this is a rabbit hole that I could just disappear into, so I'm gonna pull back while I can, barely, and move right along to the next topic. But yeah, let me know if you guys end up with thoughts or opinions on this. that haven't already been shared. And like I said, any updates will be shared with you. So next up, Rick and Morty have paid an official tribute to DMX, which is kind of cool, very sweet. And it took the form of an actual, like, a really funny throwback. So for those of you who may not have heard, rapper and actor DMX, real name Earl Simmons, did pass away very recently, age of 50. And fans of his work have been really kind of focusing on celebrating his contributions to the pop culture world at large. He played a predominant role in films such as Cradle 2, The Grave, alongside Jet Li, which is currently rising in HBO Max's streaming charts. But he also played a prominent part in many soundtracks due to his mega popular singles, such as X Gon' Give It To You. One of the more memorable uses of that particular song in a series was during Rick and Morty's first season. So the 9th episode, Something Wicked This Way Comes, saw Rick and Summer buff themselves up in order to give the devil a beatdown. The post-credits scene to that episode saw them take their new strength out into the world and use it to beat up unsavory individuals to DMX's vocals. Adult Swim paid tribute to this iconic DMX scene with fans on Twitter in honor of the late superstar. As for Rick and Morty, the series continues to be really active. So I think it was like a dual thing there to pay tribute, and also to kind of show that Rick and Morty is still very much an active franchise. So kind of spinning off into Rick and Morty a little bit more, not only did they participate in Adult Swim's April Fool's Day joke with the release of Rick and Morty Babies, which was essentially the animated series remade with children's voices, which is kind of fantastic. But Adult Swim has also recently confirmed the 5th season of the animated series is already on the way. The planned release is going to be sometime this summer, no official date yet. And then it's also been noted that the writing team is working on the 6th and 7th seasons as well already. So it's currently unclear how many episodes we'll get with the return. And actually, I'm seeing something that I completely just missaid. We do have a date. Sorry about that. It looks like the 5th season is going to be returning to Adult Swim on June 20th. So it's not vaguely this summer. That was my bad. June 20th, we'll see that. We don't know how many episodes we'll get. We're not sure if it's going to be split into 2 halves, kind of like it was in the 4th season. But the trailer does tease some pretty big moments. So I guess that was kind of 2 topics in one. But yeah, some fun stuff coming with Rick and Morty. And a lot of interesting kind of hat tips, I think, to pay tribute to DMX. A whole situation I think was very sad, both for fans and his family. Very unexpected, which is always sad. I'm gonna catch up on the chat really quick. Quote from Game Alpha Centauri when researching a tech called neural grafting. Scratch that. Okay, I'm not entirely sure. I think that's still related to the Neuralink, but I'm not entirely sure where that's going. Oh, okay. I think that's referencing the creating neural pathways, maybe, that I was talking about before. Yeah, it was. Decided not to post since we'd moved on. Sorry about that. A little bit all over the place. It's always fun. If you want to keep going with the conversation, feel free to. I am gonna keep going, I think, once I find my place. It really is a Monday, isn't it? I don't know what... I feel like I just constantly scapegoat my personal distracted brain onto Monday on a regular basis, which is really convenient because 50% of all of these episodes are on Mondays. Let's be honest, the disclaimer is me. It's just me. Alright. Back to focusing. Let's talk an acquisition. Yay! Yay! We haven't had an acquisition in like a solid maybe week or so. In this case, it's not a company-to-company acquisition, but rights of released acquisition, if you will. That was probably not worded well, but whatevs. So Netflix has officially acquired the right to stream Sony films after their theatrical run. So Netflix and Sony Pictures have officially struck a deal that will keep upcoming Spider-Man films as well as other selections from Sony Pictures on Netflix after they finish in theaters, according to the Wall Street Journal. The reportedly multi-year contract is going to start with Sony's 2022 film slate. Netflix is going to have first look rights to movies Sony is producing or licensing for streaming platforms. The number of films that Netflix has committed to ordering is currently undisclosed. And it's notable that this deal does not stop Sony from selling streaming rights to other platforms. So it's not necessarily exclusive so much as first right. Sources speaking to Variety also said that the deal will amount to a record-setting sum for a pay-one window agreement. The deal is reportedly to last 5 years. And New York Times reported that Netflix is going to be paying about $1 billion to Sony over a 4-year period. Sony can make a pay one window agreement like this one in part because it doesn't have its own streaming platform. So like Disney Plus, HBO Max, etc. The lack of having its own platform does allow it to kind of enter into these types of agreements. But it's a massive deal, really. And that's a lot of money, obviously. But Netflix has kind of definitively earned some cool titles for its money. So it's reported that future Spider-Man movies will all land on Netflix following their theatrical run. It is unclear if Tom Holland's Spider-Man No Way Home is included in that deal. Because the official deal does start with the 2022 slate. And in addition to Spider-Man, this is also going to include other Marvel characters that Sony still holds the rights to. So Jared Leto's Morbius, Tom Hardy's Venom, etc. Netflix will also be licensing certain older Sony picture films, as well as films from other studios that are under Sony's umbrella. So that's going to include the Jumanji franchise. It's going to include films done, completed by studios like Columbia Pictures, Sony Pictures Classics, Screen Gems, and TriStar Pictures. Sony executives are also reportedly working on an additional theatrical film licensing agreement beyond the Netflix deal. And yeah, it's a I lost the word there. Somewhat groundbreaking deal. I did mention in a previous episode that we're seeing kind of more and more things like this happen, especially in the age of the pandemic, right? We're seeing theatrical releases run alongside of streaming releases in order to kind of maintain that box office hit. This is notably different from that as well, because this is not going to be instead of theatrical release. It's not even going to be concurrent with theatrical release. This is a deal that works after the theatrical run. So Sony is still very much planning on depending on the theatrical debuts of its films. They're still banking on that box office release. They're still banking on the funds from that. And this is meant to be in addition to that. Sony previously partnered with Starz for its theatrical streaming agreements since 2006, so this does mark a transition of partnership as well. The Netflix deal only covers the United States, so that's another thing that is important to note. And that plays along with the thing I noted earlier, that this is not an exclusive deal. It's not stopping Sony from partnering with other streaming services. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other information for this that I missed. Historically, the pay one window agreements allows for films to hit streaming platforms about 9 months after a theatrical run. So it gives theaters 9 months of exclusivity. So it'll be interesting to see if they maintain that 9-month gap or if this kind of shortens the gap a little bit. Because like I said, Sony is still banking on that theatrical run, unlike some other studios that are kind of partnering for that dual release. But I'm personally very, very curious to see what's going to happen in the long run as far as theatrical runs are concerned. As we transition, obviously we're still in the middle of a pandemic, right? As things start to transition, as things begin to reopen up, as vaccines become more and more commonplace, we are going to see a shift, but I don't personally think things are going to go back to the way that they were. And I think it's, I don't think they should go back to the way that they were, right? We've seen people able to work from home and people realizing that they have been able to work from home this whole time. And I don't think they're going to be happy being forced back into an office setting. Not everybody, obviously. Some people prefer that setting. Some people are chomping at the bit to go back to the office. And some people, it's working better for their lives to work from home. Some people who have not been able to get a job were able to get one during the pandemic because they couldn't be discriminated against because they couldn't go into the office, etc. Like, there's so many things. That's just one tiny element to this. From the filmmaking perspective, I think that there's definitely going to be an uptick in theatrical releases, and as well as just people kind of going out to the theater. Like, that's a communal experience that is nostalgic, everybody loves. Like, I don't think theaters are going away, but I also think that it's not going to be what it once was, because people, again, have now experienced being able to enjoy a release from the comfort of their own home. And while there are plenty of people who prefer that communal experience, there are also plenty of introverts who are like, you know what, I'm going to stay on my couch. So I'm very personally curious to see kind of what the long-term effects of this will be, even as things reopen and everything else, and to see kind of how different companies do, how Sony does, sticking with that theatrical release, over other companies that kind of are partnering with HBO Max for those simultaneous releases, etc. Very long-winded there. But let me kind of wrap this up by saying this is going to include Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So that is staying on Netflix. Woo! Super, super exciting things. But Sony's announcement did hope to very much, calm any feelers that it's letting go of the theatrical releases. They specify that this deal is additive to its theatrical schedule, which will continue at its current volume. So there we go. Next up to chat about is WWE 2K22 for wrestling fans. Woo! For people like me who know nothing of wrestling. Cool, man. The teaser trailer promises that this game will hit different, and frankly, it needs to after the 2K20 release. Let me dive into that a little bit more. After an official year away, 2K has announced that it is stepping back into the wrestling video game arena with the reveal of WWE 2K22. The publisher debuted a very brief teaser during night one of WrestleMania 37. Really doesn't offer too much in terms of in-game footage, but does serve to kind of get that fans excited. So it's a little bit of a hype that the series is making an official comeback. Rey Mysterio headlines the trailer in a cinematic matchup against Cesaro. The live-action video incorporates gameplay footage of the same bout, providing glimpses of the superstars and in-game character models. Unfortunately, outside of the tagline of "It hits different," the trailer doesn't really divulge much. There's no platforms, no cover star, no release date as of yet. But it is that official mark that WWE 2K is returning after it took a year off in 2020. Aside from the pandemic, which kind of slowed everything down a little bit, there was another big reason for the hiatus, and that was that WWE 2K20 was kind of largely considered an unmitigated disaster. It launched with a myriad of technical issues. It made it almost unplayable at times. The game's more outrageous bugs launched it into a meme, which seems to happen quite a bit, and it became a bit of a laughing stock, which is obviously a bit of a bummer for them. So Visual Concepts went back to the drawing board. Saber Interactive released the arcade-style WWE Battlegrounds last September in place of a 2K game. But now they are jumping back into 2K with 2K 2022. And this game is going to need a lot more than just, you know, the bare minimum in order to kind of recover from the hit that it took from the 2K 2020. 2K20. Wow. Okay, there we go. We got there. The main problem has been that as an annual series, you can only really change so much within such a tight deadline. And theoretically, in the past, the idea has been kind of like, who cares? Not entirely, but a little bit, because, frankly, WWE 2K is the only major wrestling sim. So fans of wrestling, fans of gaming, that overlap, those fans are always going to buy these games no matter what, right? That's the idea. Really doesn't create much incentive to kind of shake things up or really add too much, especially, like I said, with that rapid turnover. For those of you who do not know, a year is a massively fast turnover for a game. There's frankly little that you can do in that time frame aside from just regular upgrades and things like that. So it does kind of make sense, but with the crash and burn that was 2K20, they really are having to step it up, and it looks like that is the plan, especially with this hiatus that they took, the full year off, not releasing the 2K21, is allowing them to kind of pour more into 2K22, and hopefully really, really create a substantial upgrade from the previous game. A full-on overhaul. Hopefully. We'll see. So, yeah, and also worth noting that, like, again, extra year of development, but in addition to that, they now have the added horsepower of the new consoles to work with, so they are in a much better position to really, really revamp this than ever before. Fingers crossed, hoping for the best. Let's hope for fans of this genre that this is kind of the push that they needed to really launch it into something that really, truly does hit different. So there we go. Panda in the chat saying, I was convinced they wouldn't even make any more after how badly 2K20 performed. I think a lot of people were in that same boat. Which is why I think that this teaser trailer is bringing a lot of questions up, a lot of discussion up in the wrestling gaming fandom, which, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really know that there was a solid wrestling gaming fandom. It's one of my favorite things about doing the show is finding out how many just different fandoms there are and how much people care. I love when people nerd out over things. Anything, all of the things, like being nerdy. It's one of the things, as much as I don't trust humans, it's one of the things I love about humans. As humans, even the ones who try to pretend that they're not nerdy, humans are nerdy. We get into things, and it's glorious. I love it. So, as much as I don't know anything about wrestling, as much as I know little about gaming, and I'm just now learning more and more, I think this is amazing. I'm super hopeful, and I'm really, really excited for hardcore fans of this who are, like I said, fingers crossed, going to get something really, really good with this extra year of development and play. And on that note, this is the perfect time, since we're talking about sports, right, to hydrate or dehydrate. I did that as dramatically as I could. You're welcome. This is the regularly scheduled portion of my show where I step off for a second to chug some water, try to revamp, try to focus a little bit, and I encourage y'all to do the same. Because as much as beverages in general are lovely and I appreciate everybody's tastes, chocolate milk does not count as water. There, I said it. Jedi Roxy, I don't know if you're listening or not, but water. Again, chocolate milk's awesome. 100% in support. But your kidneys need water. And we need to love our kidneys. So go do that. I'll be right back. I am back and super proud of myself because I did not get any water on this shirt. This is one of those shirts that, like, if you get a drop of anything on it, it turns really, really dark. So it's very, very obvious. And about, like, maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes before I went live, I missed my mouth while drinking water. And I was like, that's obvious. It's just, you can't hide that. So I was kind of worried I was going to do that in my break, but I didn't. Go me. I drank all of the water. Not all of it. There's a couple sips left in case somebody tells me I have to hydrate. But I drank water and I didn't even dump it on myself. Go me. Be proud of the little things. Alrighty. On that note. Nightbot's reminding everybody to be sure to follow DVSI Entertainment on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. So for anyone who's watching on YouTube, I figured I'd share that. There we go. Alright, moving right along. Next up to chat about is Power Rangers. Woo! Power Rangers Dino Fury has cast their Gold Ranger. Jordan T. Fight, who is a TikTok star and actor, will don the Gold Ranger suit on the Nickelodeon's children's show Power Rangers Dino Fury. This ongoing action series began with the 1993 adaptation of the Japanese Super Sentai franchise titled Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Power Rangers Season 28 of the series premiered on February 20th and has gotten positive reviews thus far. Fight announced on Twitter that he will be playing a character named Ion, aka the Gold Ranger, on Dino Fury. Fight is joining a team that includes Red, played by Russell Curry, Pink, played by Hunter Dino, Blue, played by Kai Moya, Green, played by Tessa Rao, and Black Ranger, played by Chance Perez. The actor and TikTok star will likely enter the show during this ongoing season. Power Rangers has traditionally balanced action plotlines with very wholesome themes related to friendship and strong morals. Perez, who is now Fight's co-star, recently spoke about how the latest installment stays true to the spirit of the Power Rangers franchise and reflects its young actors' friendly rapport on set. Fight's existing relationship with his social media followers adds a really interesting new kind of fan relationship that already has viewers super excited for his addition to the team. As his character will join later in the season, however, he may have a different relationship with the other Rangers who have already been working together. The official synopsis for Power Rangers Dino Fury brings space beings up against the power of extinct reptiles. So the official quote is, when an army of powerful alien beings is unleashed on Earth, threatening life as we know it, a brand new team of Power Rangers, fueled by the prehistoric power of the dinosaurs, are recruited to deal with the threat. End quote of synopsis. I feel like a slightly terrible human because until prepping for this and reading and researching a little bit about this, I didn't know that Power Rangers was still on. I don't know what this is about me. Power Rangers was part of a very, very long list of things that I was not allowed to partake in as a child. I knew they existed. I had friends who were fans of Power Rangers, etc. But I don't know why. My brain just kind of assumed that it was a thing, like when I was a child, and now was not a thing anymore, or was like just throwbacks or repeats. And like I said, I feel a little bit bad because it's alive and well. 28th season. That's insane, but really, really cool. And I personally know some fans of Power Rangers who are going to be super, super stoked about this. And I feel like with the addition of Jordan Fight, this is going to renew some people's interest in Power Rangers who may have grown up with it in the past and, like me, kind of tapered off a little bit. Or I think it'll also kind of extend his fandom to include a younger audience, which it'll be interesting to see if that changes his content at all. Yeah. Interesting all the way around. Really exciting stuff for fans of the franchise. Very enlightening for me. And there we go. I don't know why I said "and," because there wasn't really anything else for me to say, but you're welcome. Next up to chat about, I talked last time about the shutdown of Yahoo Answers, right? This is officially happening on May 4th. this truly, truly irreplaceable collection of human knowledge and comedy will be lost forever. Hypothetically speaking, I have no doubt that it will be immortalized in some way, shape, or form. People like to archive things, so, and once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. The official site will be shut down, so if people don't kind of scalp the info now, it will be lost. However, we won't fully lose these deep reflections of the human experience, such as, I saw a man so beautiful I started crying, ? I love just the random things they put in here for me. Yeah, we won't lose them all, even if they're never archived. Because at least 500 of these will be enshrined somewhere they will last forever. In a mod for 2013's The Typing of the Dead Overkill. So for those who don't know, because I didn't, I'm choking a little bit. Water is your friend. And mine. That's what I get for, like, laughing. Alright, so for those of you who don't necessarily know, Typing of the Dead is a spin-off of Sega's 1996 light gun shooter, The House of the Dead. However, instead of pointing a gun at an arcade screen, you type in words and phrases, like unicorns, or to thine own self, or something similar, to blast the undead running at your screen. So it's a typing game. It really is maybe one of the best ideas anyone's had for a video game. I didn't know it existed, but now I really, really want to play it. I feel like I would suck at it, and I'm excited about that. So, yeah. Several, at least 500 of these Yahoo Answers memorable quotes and questions will be added to the new dictionary for Typing of the Dead on Steam. So, using the RIP Yahoo Answers mod, is as simple as just clicking the subscribe button. The mod may also end up serving as a hard mode for Typing of the Dead pros, because frankly there's curveballs in there. You'll get emojis, winky faces, parentheses that don't really belong, and prompts like, is Yamble a word? It's not, for the record. So yeah, I imagine that there's plenty of typos lurking in the archive, just waiting to throw off your word per minute scores. But bless you, YahooAnswers.txt, for this vital and hilarious work of preservation. G-Man says, but is there cake? Wrong game. I don't know. Probably. I'm sure there's plenty of cake on Yahoo Answers. I'm loving what people are coming up with the, I almost said death of, but that sounds really just depressing. But the end of the era that is Yahoo Answers, like I said, I have zero doubt that it will be forever immortalized in some way, shape, or form, and it's fun learning how this is occurring. So, one of the ways is on Typing of the Dead. Yeah, if there's anything else that comes up, any other news on fun fun responses to the Yahoo Answers being shut down, we'll definitely share that with you, because I think this is hilarious. How else will we know? How is baby formed? Pregnant. Anyways, okay, focusing. Apparently, there has been a recent public poll that suggests that The Rock should run for president. I'm not mad about it. Let's dive into this a little bit more. So you don't really have to look too far to see celebrities using their fame and fortune to enact change, right? It's really becoming more and more common for celebrities to use their platform for political stances, sometimes even running for public offices, quite successfully. So look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, Donald Trump. And amongst the latest list of celebrities that the public has taken a shine to regarding a future political run is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm sorry, I got very distracted by the chat. I'll get back to that. But yeah, so Dwayne the Ron, wow. Hold up. Pause. We're good. All right. Dwayne The Rock Johnson was recently polled as a potential presidential candidate. And the poll actually suggests that over 50% of Americans want to see Johnson run for president. Now, I think it's worth noting that while this is being reported as 50% of Americans, this is 50% of Americans who happen to be polled, because I did not get this poll. Not that I wouldn't vote for The Rock for president, but I would personally prefer to wait to see, you know, his platform. I think people's response to celebrities in the political sphere is fascinating and somewhat hilarious. You have two extremes. You have people saying that, you know, entertainers don't belong in politics at all, that they should keep their mouths shut, that they shouldn't have an opinion, etc. And then you have people who are just like, yes, this person looks familiar, go! I feel like both of those perspectives can be kind of dangerous. Just throwing that out there, but, I'm kind of interested. So what a lot of people don't necessarily consider when a celebrity is voicing a political opinion is, sometimes these people have political backgrounds or knowledge. They certainly have knowledge dealing with the public in, you know, certain ways. But also, I always love to see when people just completely disregard people's experience and education and be like, you're just an entertainer. Like, this person doesn't have a degree in neuroscience or whatever, or politics or anything else. So there's just so much more to consider than just somebody's celebrity status when it comes to a political campaign, specifically a presidential political campaign. But I feel like that could go a direction that I probably shouldn't take this conversation. So, all this to say, The Rock has responded to this poll. He's never been one to mince words. And in this case, he provided some honest and keen thoughts on the idea of him potentially campaigning to become the nation's next president. His official response says, "Not sure our founding fathers ever envisioned a 6'4", bald, tattooed, half black, half Samoan, tequila-drinking, pickup-driving, fanny-pack-wearing guy joining their club. But if it ever happens, it'd be my honor to serve the people." I mean, honestly, he does very much exude strength. An overwhelming feeling of safety. So those are definitely positives and characteristics that are desirable in the person chosen to lead our country. Surface level doesn't sound like a half bad deal. Like I said, I kind of prefer to know somebody's platform before just voting for them. But as a person, he showed himself to be very much a public servant in a lot of ways. He's campaigned for charities. He's done work with people. He's very, as G-Man says, he gives off an air of approachability and calm. Personal, good with people. Like I said, being able to communicate to a crowd is a very underrated skill that politicians really should have. As well as being wise with what you say. Celebrities need to be careful what comes out of their mouth, because it can come back to bite them. And I feel like more politicians need to have that sort of wisdom, that some things shouldn't be said to a public audience. And that's all I say about that particular sentence. But Dwayne Johnson is a versatile figure, has major appeal to a number of generations. He remains relevant to younger generations and young parents. He's a family man, starring in a number of Disney productions, but he's also very much a figure for more mature audiences as well. One recent example is Red Notice. What's even more, I think, applicable in this sense is that he appeals to people of multiple social classes as well. So he's rich and famous now, obviously, but he has very humble beginnings, and he has always been open, honest about never forgetting them. Which is admirable in many, many ways, I think. So, yeah, all of this adds together to make him a very likable potential candidate. And it appears that half of polled Americans agree on that, which is kind of fantastic. he's been keeping pretty busy in Hollywood, so I don't know that he's necessarily going to drop all that to campaign anytime soon, but it seems like he'd be down for it. So here's to seeing. G-Man asked if he mentioned what party he'd run under. Not in his official kind of just very brief statement. I get the feeling that he's not the one who put himself as a candidate in this poll, but he's just not necessarily opposed to it. So I have no clue. And like I said, that for me is far more important than just the likability of a person, though that's also important. Like I said, in politics, in public opinion, you often see two extremes. And so some people are like, likability of a person and their politics don't matter. And then some people are like, politics and who they are as a human doesn't matter. And I'm like, how about both? How about we have, like, you know, focus on someone who's intelligent and respectful and, you know, a good person, whose politics I also agree with, and then I'll consider voting for them. Ugh. This is one of those topics that, again, could dive into all sorts of things, so I should probably leave it where it's at. But just cool, fun little thing in the entertainment world. Being shaken up a little bit, blended with politics. I wouldn't mind, theoretically speaking. Again, depending on his politics. But that'd be fun to see him run for president. So we shall see. Obviously, again, if there's any developments, if he actually does run and develop a platform, I will be sharing it. Because why not? It's fantastic. And related. Alrighty. Last up to chat about today, as far as official topics are concerned, Grand Theft Auto 5 was March's most viewed game on Twitch, which is kind of fantastic. This is an official milestone that GTAV has hit. It's become Twitch's most viewed game of March, and that's the first time it's ever done so. This new achievement for GTA 5 was announced. How do you say that? Like, I see it written as GTAV, which I know the V is 5, Roman numerals, and then GTA 5 with the number 5. So do you just always say 5, or do you say V? Does anybody actually play Grand Theft Auto? Goodness. I think I'm trying to speak too quickly today, and I'm having difficulty with enunciation. Anyways, if anybody plays Grand Theft Auto, if anyone plays Grand Theft Auto, let me know in the chat. My goodness. This was announced in Stream Elements in partnership with Rainmaker.gg, who supply data and information related to the world of streaming. According to this platform, people watched 181 million hours of that game in March, which propelled GTA to that first place slot for the first time ever. Also worth noting that this is particularly impressive feat, considering that the game is now more than 7 years old at this point in time. So comparing GTA 5 to the game below it, League of Legends, it's, you know, they won by a clear margin. Over 40 million more hours in March compared to the next place. So the only category that scored above GTA 5 in March is the just chatting category, which apparently always holds the top slot, and it's not categorized as a game, so GTA still wins game-wise. So other titles on the list, the top list, include League of Legends, Fortnite, and Warzone, in the slots, respectively. So all of the games, besides League of Legends, have seen an increase in viewership this past month. One element that's apparently propelled the game forward is the rise of character role-playing in recent years. So role-playing servers have become especially popular over the last few months, and have seen more and more streamers trying to live out specific lives through GTA 5. It's important to note as well that, according to Stream Elements, Twitch streaming data is not available from before 2016. So it's not fully clear how well the game's done in the past, past that point in time. Though as Twitch gets more and more popular over the years, the numbers of people watching on Twitch are only going to rise, right? So, yeah. like I said, GTA 5's success right now is kind of unexpected and really impressive. We'll have to see if GTA 5 reaches even more of a crowd later in April, because it's going to be coming to Xbox Game Pass alongside some other titles. The game's ongoing popularity can mostly right now be attributed to GTA Online, which recently officially implemented a fan-made patch to speed up the infamous loading times, which I mentioned in a previous episode. That's all I got. That's it for today. I'm only kind of sorry for how distracted I've been today, because it's been amusing. We've gotten to talk about some deep topics, which is super, super fun. Yeah, I don't have anything official to pitch to you guys to close with. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much, as always, for your continued support. Thank you for hanging out with me. Yeah. Follow us on social media, which I kind of already plugged a little earlier on. Keep an eye out on Zombie in a Jar, new album coming soon. Check out our streamers. If you look on our Twitch channel, you can see sponsored streamers, and I should be one of them. So, a little bit of a you know, personal reason to try to get you guys to check that out. Anyways, yeah, thank you guys. Happy Monday, and I will be back. I'll see you guys on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 3 p.m. if you're on the other coast, for another episode of eSpot Live. In the meantime, make sure you're staying happy and healthy and hydrated, and kind. And as always, above all, stay devious.